So we did it. We hit 100,000 subscribers. I'm really excited. I know I don't sound like it. I just kind of woke up. It's 7:29 in the morning. But nonetheless, let's do this. My top 40 manga of all time currently. For those of you that have been around my channel for a while, you know this changes a lot, and it's very difficult to rank many different mangas with many different styles that fit different demographics and different genres. Now, also the reason I did a top 40 instead of a top 50 is because there's some series currently that I am reading, for instance, like Holy Land, Full Metal Alchemist, Tokyo Revengers, Tokyo Ghoul, that, I'm pretty sure will end up moving things out of the top 40 into the top 50. So maybe eventually down the line I'll end up doing an update on the list and actually doing a top 50, but for right now I have a list of 40 that I'm pretty confident with. But without further ado, let's get right into the list since there is quite a bit of them. And at 40 I have One Piece. My reasonings, cause screw One Piece. At number 39 I have the original Dragon Ball. Now Dragon Ball is something very close to my heart, has a lot of nostalgia with it, mostly Dragon Ball Z. However, even me in my right mind, knowing the Buu saga, it doesn't matter how much nostalgia you throw at my head, I'm not going to be able to put Dragon Ball Z within my top 50. The original Dragon Ball, however, before all of the Super Saiyan shenanigans, I think was a very solid manga. It was meant to be a parody, more so as a comedy. I think over time, the overall stigma on Dragon Ball has been pretty negative, as tends to be with most mainstream titles. But I'm confident with this one, at 39, Dragon Ball. Now at 38, I have Fire Punch. Fire Punch for me was disappointing. I was upset with the manga, and with certain things it did within the story that came off as extremely distasteful. However, despite my criticisms on the series, it is still a very good manga. For those of you that don't know, Fire Punch is made by the same author as Chainsaw Man, and with Fire Punch, just like a series that will be coming up right after this, both feel like rough drafts that the author ends up improving upon later on through his or her later works. So at number 37, I have Devilman. For those of you that don't know, Devilman, I'm speaking more so the manga, not the anime, but Devilman is a classic, and because of that, I think it definitely deserves its title amongst all of these greats. If it wasn't for Devilman, you might as well say goodbye to Berserk and almost every other dark series that has come after it. It really shook up the foundation of the manga world when it first came out, and its impact has been nothing but legendary. But despite its iconic status, the manga itself is very solid. However, like I did say with Fire Punch, it does feel like a rough draft that later mangas end up taking concepts from and improving upon vastly. So at number 36, we have a horror manga, Uzumaki. Uzumaki, written by Junji Ito, is probably one of the only horror mangas I will ever read because I scare easy, and I mean like terribly easy. After reading this manga, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I don't know what it is with me and sleep in the past few months, it hasn't been going well. But nonetheless, if you are into that kind of thing with the horror mangas, then you should check out Junji Ito. That's kind of what he's known for, and if you haven't, check out Uzumaki. Now at number 35, I know I'm gonna get some heat with this, but I do not care. At number 35, I have Naruto. Can we stop pretending like Naruto was only the war arc? Can we? I'm serious. No, like I'm dead serious. I've given many criticisms towards what the series failed at, but let's not forget that characters like Kakashi, Itachi, Pain, one of the greatest antagonists in manga, does exist. Honestly, there were so many thematic brilliances that Naruto brought with a lot of its characters, and again, despite whatever narrative flaws it ended up having towards the end, we can't deny things like the Chunin exam, the Land of Waves, the Pain Assault arc, the Sasuke retrieval arc were not all great arcs in and of themselves. So I think Naruto has done more than enough to place itself on the top 50 mangas of all time. One of my first series, and it's actually the series as to why I started this channel and why I call myself the Masked Man. Okay, now I know with the next one I'm kind of cheating because I'm talking about the anime, and that's Cowboy Bebop, but I could not have my top 40 list and not have Cowboy Bebop. Spike is an amazing protagonist. Overall, it's not that long of a series. It's not a long-running one by any stretch of the imagination. If you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, I would definitely recommend it to you. I can't really get into too much of it without spoiling, but nonetheless, people who've seen Cowboy Bebop know what it is. Now, at number 33, we have Trigun. Trigun, again, boasting one of the best protagonists, one of my favorite personally, in Vash the Stampede. It was a series that I first dabbled into a little while back, but in the most recent months, I ended up picking up, and expect a review on this individually soon. But hopefully no one has an issue with what I did earlier with Cowboy Bebop as an anime. Honestly, with Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, I was going back and forth, but I ended up picking Trigun above Cowboy Bebop. Now, at number 32, I have Chainsaw Man. Not gonna lie, Chainsaw Man was probably the hardest one to rank on this list because I definitely have it a good bit above Fire Punch. And so when I had this list originally made, I had to take something out of the list and then remember, oh wait, Chainsaw Man, and so I put it in. If you haven't read Chainsaw Man yet, I implore you to read Chainsaw Man. It's the best thing currently that Shonen Jump has been putting out. And a lot of you JJK stans are like kicking rocks right now. Y'all need to relax, alright? No, Chainsaw Man's where it's at. But I digress because we still have like 30 different things to go through and we're already like 6 minutes into the video. Number 31, I have Magi. Magi was another one that was a little bit tricky because I think Magi has a lot of great things to it. Great characters, great themes, great fights, great world building. But the ending was a little meh. So that's the reason why it ends up lower on this list than some of the other titles that I ended up reading. Also, you have to remember that over the time, even though before I had Magi a little bit higher on my list, I think it should also be taken into consideration. The reason why my top 10, top 20, top whatever changes so much is because I'm constantly reading new series that I haven't read before. Sinbad, easily one of my favorite anime characters of all time, but even he's not enough to carry Magi much higher. Now, at number 30, I have a manga that I ended up dropping, but I picked it up just to finish it, and like I said in my video talking about this, even though I was a bit disgusted by some of the things within the manga, it's still nonetheless probably the best psychological manga I have ever read, and that is Homunculus. Homunculus is wild. And I mean wild. If you want to have your mind messed with to insanely just unhealthy proportions, read Homunculus. Honestly, when the series was recommended to me, what I expected going into it was not what I got at all. And by the time I was like 5 volumes in, what I thought I was going to keep getting was not what I got at all. And then the ending just went stupid. And stupid in a good way. Like, it caught me off guard. But moving on, number 29, I have Akira. Another classic series, much like Devilman. I really do enjoy Akira a lot, however, due to the high action it has and some of the things that it's able to do. Now, in my video, someone kind of yelled at me because I said it doesn't necessarily put an entire focus on philosophy, but that was just me making a comparison to Vagabond. In and of itself, I think Akira is a very solid series. I do want to watch the movie, however, because I've only read the manga. Now, number 28, I have my favorite I guess you could say fighting tournament type manga, and that would be Kengan Ashura. Now, I have read Baki, but I'm pretty sure there's another version of Baki that is much better that I have not read yet, but Kengan Ashura is by far my favorite. The artwork, all of the characters, the fighters, the narrative behind everything, it's great. Kengan Ashura is great. Now, I know the Record of Ragnarok fans are going to be like, where's Record of Ragnarok? Listen, 30-something chapters is a little too premature to throw something into a top 40, top 50. Now, shouts out to Record of Ragnarok, however, but yeah, at number 28, I have Kengan Ashura. Now, at number 27, I have One Punch Man. At number 26, I have Made in Abyss. At number 25, I have Hellsing. Hellsing is a series that was also a little bit tricky to rank on this, but I genuinely don't have any major knocks against the series because everything that would usually serve as a criticism is kind of what makes Hellsing unique. So it's in a very, very different position, and I just love the style of the manga in and of itself. Now, number 24 is a very underrated title, one that has been recommended to me many, many times, and I'm very glad I picked it up. Also expect a review on this soon, and that's Blade of the Immortal. Again, don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to waste any more time, but if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do check it out. Now, number 23, I have another series that's very dear to my heart, and that is Death Note. Death Note, sadly, is a series that I think could have been much, much higher, but sadly, after a certain character dies, the series just isn't the same anymore. At number 22, I have Claymore. Claymore was another series that I've been recommended to for over a year now, and I'm very grateful that I picked it up. It's another dark fantasy series. Like I said before, it's pretty much Berserk's younger sister, and by no stretch of the imagination is that a bad thing. Now, number 21, I have Gantz. Gantz is a series that has probably one of my favorite moments of development from a protagonist. It also has one of my favorite secondary characters. The monsters, the fights, and everything in Gantz is extremely raw, edgy, bloody, you name it. But it also had some very questionable narrative decisions. And the ending was, I'm not gonna lie, a little bit suspect, although for me it wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be, because I was told it was like the worst ending ever, basically. But at 21, I do have Gantz. It was quite the long series, basically like 400 chapters. Now at 20, I have a series that I have read more recently, but I genuinely think it's very similar to Gantz, but it doesn't have any of the major narrative flaws Gantz has, and that is Jagan. If you've not read Jagan, read it. Do yourself the favor and read it. Now, a lot of people were letting me know in the comments of my last video, I should give a disclaimer because it is a series, again, very similar to Gantz, that has some things that is off-putting, that is a little grotesque, and very strong for, well, younger audiences. Nonetheless, it's absolutely amazing. Now, number 19 is a manga that I've also picked up a little more recently, but is absolutely brilliant. And it wasn't what I expected either, and that's GTO Great Teacher Onizuka. Now, the first time I actually encountered this manga was around a year ago, and I forget the channel that did it, but it was essentially the manga that taught me how to live, and it was GTO in the thumbnail. And after reading GTO, I went to watch that video, and I was completely surprised. I was like, wow, I probably should have watched this video when it first came out. I think now that video has like 1 million views. But GTO has everything: comedy, philosophy, and you really feel like you grow up as you read this manga. Now, I should probably throw this here for the One Piece fans, but One Piece would be below GTO and above Jagan. So One Piece would actually be at 20, so One Piece is actually in my top 20, and everything else just kind of bumps down one, if that makes sense. But at number 18, I have Hunter x Hunter. I've talked about Hunter x Hunter on previous occasions. I have a video reviewing it, and I've also talked about it on my other top 10 videos. Hunter x Hunter is a series that boasts one of the most frustrating hiatuses in all of manga, but it's also managed to boast some of the greatest antagonists in all of manga, being able to boast of the likes of characters like Kurapika. I know Kurapika isn't an antagonist, but just bear with me. So Kurapika, and then you have the antagonists such as the Phantom Troop, and then on top of that, you have even more standout characters within the Phantom Troop like Chrollo and Hisoka, and then you have a character like Meruem. Hunter x Hunter, despite it, I think, working a lot better as an anime, is still decent enough as a manga that it works. The only criticism you could give it is vast amounts of exposition and hiatus, but nonetheless a great series. Now, at number 17, I have a series that I think is one of Naoki Urasawa's forgotten children. And get used to the name Naoki Urasawa because it's going to pop up like 3 more times as this list continues. But at number 17, I have Billy Bat. Billy Bat, I would say, is my least favorite out of the other 3 works that he has: Pluto, 20th Century Boys, and Monster. But nonetheless, phenomenal. I want to say what I want to say about this series, however, when I drop the individual review on it. But at 17, I do have Billy Bat. Now at 16 is Parasite. Parasite, I absolutely love this series for all of the thematic things it was able to do. I also talked about my initial thoughts on it a few months back. I do want to end up giving a update video. I've just been reading and doing so many things, I never get around to these things. At number 15, I have Vinland Saga. At number 14, I have JoJo's. At number 13, I have another series that I've been reading currently, but has absolutely blown me away. And it's by the same author of Dr. Stone, if I'm not mistaken, and that is Sunken Rock. When we talk the greatest artworks in all of manga, and artwork means a lot to me because we are talking about manga, so the visual representations do matter. Sunken Rock is up there with Berserk, Vagabond, with the best of them. You could even argue better. Again, another read that I end up planning on doing a individual video on, but if you have not checked Sunken Rock out, before I do drop that video, you might as well check it out, read it. But with that, we move on to the number 12, and at number 12, we have Blame. Blame, or Blam, exclamation point, is a manga that is known for being able to communicate itself with very little words and a whole lot of imagery. I know the criticism is it's so open-ended that some people can get lost, but if you're able to stay on track and not lose yourself in the grand narrative of the overall story, then you should be fine. But Blame, I think it's brilliant. At number 11, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan was something that had moved a little down and then up because of the recent chapters, and depending on what happens in the few chapters I think that are left on Attack on Titan, this will definitely probably rise higher on the list, or probably just stay where it's at now that I'm kind of looking at what's above it. Attack on Titan put out the best content in 2020. Yeah. At number 10, I have Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk, for those of you that don't know, I'm also a very big basketball fan. So Slam Dunk is something that hits a little home for me. A work by Takehiko Inoue. Also expect to see him a few more times as we continue. But Slam Dunk is an absolutely brilliant series. The way that it starts to the way that it has continued is absolutely brilliant, and the artwork has done nothing but improved and improved. I never would have thought I would have put a sports manga above all of the other things that are below it, but I genuinely think Slam Dunk is absolutely brilliant. However, there is another basketball manga made by the same author that I think is quite a bit better. Now, number 9, Kingdom. Like I said before, y'all have seen Kingdom before on the list. At number 8, 20th Century Boys. At number 7, I have Dorohedoro. At number 6, I have Real. Real is the other basketball series I was talking about, but this time it's wheelchair basketball. I think it has a little bit more strength to its characterization and some of the lessons, and I think it's hit me harder than I would say like a Slam Dunk. At number 5, I have Pluto, another forgotten child of Naoki Urasawa. At number 4, Monster, the best work of Naoki Urasawa. At number 3, Pun Pun. At number 2, Vagabond. And at number 1, Berserk. That is my top 40 manga at the current moment. Hopefully you can kind of look at this as something as like a manga recommendations if there are a few series in here that you have not read. And as y'all always do, make sure to leave your recommendations down in the comment section below. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but after I see a manga recommended so many times, it ends up clicking in my head, hey, I should probably read this. But I guess 16 minutes was enough stalling. I guess now it would be time for the face reveal. First of all, I just want to start by saying thank you for all of those that have put up with me this long and who's really been with me from the very beginning. Honestly, when doing this face reveal, I was kind of thinking to myself before, it can't be that bad. Audio, video, what's the major difference? But now that I kind of think that thousands of people are going to be looking at me, potentially roasting me. Anyways, again, I just want to say thanks. Shouts out to my boys AnimeX, Tyler and Cloak, Villain, DH Animations, Real Life Ryan. Those have been the guys who've been with me pretty much from the very beginning. All of the other channels has also supported me. Anime Sage, Delix the Reviewer, my boy Sensei Inc., Josiah, Platt, Mikey, Andre, Crollo, and just everybody I've really had the pleasure with meeting and interacting. Basically everyone I've ever done a collab video with, DBZ I'm Ran, Zagodhand, Boofire. I've also been able to get in contact with Spired. And honestly, starting off the channel and kind of looking up at the mountain, if you will, if that's a good analogy to use, you know, I always looked at these other channels as kind of like, you know, goals that I set for myself. And to really be able to achieve certain goals, surpass certain goals, I mean, that's all thanks to you guys. And I really wouldn't, I don't know what I'd be doing currently without you guys and without the support that you guys have given me. And I just want to say I'm extremely grateful for it. It's surreal being able to collab with people, the same people you and your homies would watch back in like high school, and to be able to collab with them and then just hit them up and be like, hey, what's up? There's a feeling almost none like it. And I think another thing that is very, very humbling is when I get a DM or a message from you guys basically telling me, hey, you know, I got into this series because of you. That honestly just makes my day, and I can't even express how happy I am to hear those kind of things. At the end of the day with this channel, my goal is to leave the anime community in a slightly better place than when I found it. And I think I've always encouraged people to think for themselves, that if they don't agree with a criticism of mine, to respectfully tell me why. And some of you guys do that, and honestly, I just love seeing all of that. So thank you again for supporting this channel. I don't really know what words I can really use anymore to just describe how happy and how just, I don't want to say fulfilling because that isn't the proper word I want to use, but just how satisfying it has been to reach this goal and everybody I've been able to meet along the way. My life has definitely been changed because of you guys, and this is an encouragement to anybody. If you want to take a risk, go for it, try it, learn it, and try to attack it. And if it doesn't work, change up your strategy and try again. And try and learn from those that, you know, who inspire you. No matter what it is, sports, YouTube, whatever it is, just go for it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. As always, this has been the Masked Man, or well, the Unmasked Man now. Go ahead and leave your jokes on that, because I already know 50 of you already typed that in the comments. Have a blessed rest of the day, and peace.